Adjoa stood tall in the bustling market, her eyes scanning the rows of vendors as she proudly displayed her goods. She had started with just a small stall years ago, but now, her market was thriving. She had worked tirelessly to establish herself, building relationships with suppliers, customers, and even other traders. Every morning, she would wake early to prepare, ensuring her children were ready for school before heading to the market to run her business. Her husband, Kwame, was always there to offer support, whether it was watching over the kids or lending a hand with logistics. Despite her growing success, the other women in the market whispered behind her back. They envied her prosperity and the respect she had earned. Some even spread rumors about how she had managed to grow so quickly, trying to tarnish her reputation. But Adjoa paid them no mind. She knew her worth, and she knew that the love and trust of her family was far more valuable than any gossip. In the evenings, when the market closed, she returned home to a warm meal, her children's laughter filling the house, and a marriage that was the bedrock of her life. Kwame never wavered in his support. It was his belief in her that fueled her determination to succeed. Adjoa's success in the market didn't come without its challenges. As her business grew, so did the demands. There were days when she felt overwhelmed, when the constant juggling between her children, her husband, and her trade left her with little time for herself. Her mornings began before dawn, ensuring her kids had breakfast and were ready for school. By the time she reached the market, the sun was already rising, and the day's work had only just begun. Despite the exhaustion, Adjoa had learned to thrive in the chaos. Kwame was always there to lend a helping hand, often accompanying her to the market on weekends or picking up the children when their school day ended. Yet, there were still moments of doubt. Some days, the weight of everyone's expectations, her children's needs, her customers' demands, and her peers' criticism, threatened to break her. The other women in the market often commented on how she managed it all, as if they were waiting for her to falter. But Adjoa was determined not to let their skepticism define her. She had come too far to let anyone, even her own doubts, make her stumble. The gossip in the market grew louder as Adjoa's success became more undeniable. Whispers behind her back about her methods of growing her business were constant. Some of the women speculated she had cut corners, while others hinted that she must have some secret that they weren't privy to. Adjoa, however, chose not to engage with their malicious chatter. She had no time for it. Her priority was her family and her business, not petty rivalries or jealousy. Her husband, Kwame, noticed the toll the rumors were taking on Adjoa. At night, he would sit with her after the children had gone to bed, listening as she shared her frustrations. He reassured her that their success was the result of hard work, and not everyone could see or appreciate that. His words, full of love and unwavering belief, always lifted her spirits. Slowly, Adjoa began to realize that no matter how much envy she faced, the strength of her character and the support of her family would always overshadow any negativity. She had built her business from the ground up, and the only thing that mattered was her own vision for the future. Adjoa's role in the market was no longer just about running a business. She had become a voice for the women around her. As her influence grew, other women began to turn to her for advice, seeking guidance on how to balance work, family, and personal dreams. She had built a reputation not only for her business acumen but also for her integrity and the way she treated others. Slowly, she realized that the envy from her peers could be transformed into admiration if she chose to lead with wisdom and kindness. One afternoon, as she prepared her stall, a group of women gathered around her. They shared their struggles of managing home life while trying to earn a living, and many felt invisible in a world that seemed to value men's contributions more. Adjoa listened patiently, her heart swelling with empathy. She had felt the same way when she first started, but she had learned that their voices were just as important. That day, Adjoa made a decision. She would become more than just a market woman. She would fight for the rights of the women who had supported her and those who had yet to find their voice. Kwame's support of Adjoa had always been unwavering, but as her role in the community expanded, it became even more evident. He had always believed in her dreams and encouraged her to take risks, even when it meant stepping outside of traditional gender roles. In a world where many men believed a woman's place was in the home, Kwame stood beside Adjoa, helping her break barriers. One evening, Adjoa expressed her desire to take a more active role in advocating for women's rights in the market. Kwame was quiet for a moment, then simply nodded. He understood her passion and ambition. "You were always meant to lead, Adjoa," he said, placing his hand on hers. "I believe in you." His words, simple but powerful, gave her the confidence to move forward. With his encouragement, she began organizing meetings with the women in the market to discuss how they could collectively improve their working conditions. He not only watched the children when she attended meetings but also helped with the business when she needed to focus on her advocacy. His support became the foundation upon which she could build her leadership. Adjoa's leadership was not defined by a single event, but by the small, consistent actions she took to improve the lives of the women around her. As she began to gather women from the market, her goal was not just to voice their concerns but to create a space where they could all grow together. She organized workshops where women could share tips on business strategies, family balance, and mental well-being. It wasn't long before her efforts attracted the attention of local leaders, who admired her ability to bring people together. Her reputation as a leader grew, and soon, women from surrounding markets began to approach her for advice and support. Adjoa became a beacon of hope for those who felt marginalized, and her voice carried weight. As the number of women in her network grew, Adjoa was filled with pride, not because of the recognition, but because she had helped empower women who had long been overlooked. With Kwame's continued support, Adjoa knew that her vision for the future was beginning to take shape. She was no longer just a market woman, she was a leader, a voice for the voiceless. While Adjoa's growing leadership in the community brought her many allies, it also brought challenges from within her own ranks. Some of the women, particularly those who had once envied her, were now threatened by her newfound influence. They began questioning her motives, accusing her of seeking power rather than helping others. The whispers that had once been about her success now turned into attacks on her character. Adjoa knew this was inevitable, but it still stung. She had worked so hard to uplift these women, and yet some were too caught up in their own insecurities to see her intentions. Kwame noticed the strain it was causing her. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, he found her sitting quietly, her face etched with frustration. He sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Don't let them steal your peace," he said softly. "The more you rise, the more they will try to pull you down. But your heart is pure, and that's what matters." His words were a reminder that her journey was bigger than the opinions of others. With renewed determination, Adjoa resolved to continue her work, no matter the resistance. One day, a powerful opportunity presented itself. The local government announced a new initiative to support women entrepreneurs, offering grants and resources for businesses. Adjoa saw this as the perfect chance to help the women in her community take their businesses to the next level. She organized a meeting where they could discuss the initiative and learn how to apply for the resources available. At the meeting, a government official spoke about the importance of women in the economy and the role they could play in driving change. Adjoa stood up and spoke passionately about the potential of the women in her community, her voice steady and confident. She spoke not just for herself, but for all the women who had supported her and who deserved a chance to thrive. By the end of the meeting, many of the women had signed up for the grants, inspired by the possibility of a better future. Adjoa's journey had not been easy, but through it all, her family had remained her strongest support system. Her children were proud of their mother, often sharing stories about how she had helped other women in the community. They saw the way she balanced her business, her family, and her advocacy, and they admired her strength. Kwame, too, continued to be her rock, offering encouragement and love every step of the way. One evening, as they sat together at the dinner table, Adjoa looked around at her family. Her children were laughing, and Kwame was smiling at her across the table. She felt a deep sense of gratitude. All the struggles, the envy, and the challenges had been worth it because they had made her stronger, more determined, and more united with her family. They were her foundation, and together, they had built something lasting. Years passed, and Adjoa's impact on the community continued to grow. The women she had mentored became leaders in their own right, and many of them had expanded their businesses or started new ventures. The market had transformed from a place of competition and envy into a thriving, supportive community. Adjoa had not only changed the lives of the women around her, but had also set an example for future generations. As she stood in her stall one morning, watching the bustling market come to life, Adjoa knew that her work was far from over. She had created a legacy of change, one where women supported each other and thrived together. But more importantly, she had shown her children what it meant to follow your dreams, to lead with integrity, and to never let the opinions of others define you. With her family by her side, Adjoa knew that the future was bright for them all.